Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video is a little bit more like serious in a respect. I've wanted to make this video for quite a while and I don't really know where I was going with that. I've just wanted to make it for quite a while, but like we haven't had enough time to like sit down and go into it. So I wanted to answer some questions on what it's like to date a transgender guy, because it's hard to explain because it's not different to dating like a cisgendered person, but also it is. There's like different complications and stuff.
Yeah, I mean every couple has its challenges, and I think there's a lot of things that will apply to transgender, cisgender couples versus maybe, you know, interracial couples have similar things that are just unique to them.
Yeah.
But I think it's something a lot of people have questions
Yeah.
about.
And I mean, I know that like when we first started dating, it was never like a question of whether I was going to date you because I knew I fancied you and like that was never going to be an issue. But like I did a lot of internet searching and like I still do now when a new issue or like a new like I don't know thing that I've never experienced before comes up, and I'm like, okay, I want someone to relate to and like someone on the internet to have had a similar experience.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like it's just nice to have someone like give you a bit of advice or just to feel like you're not floating in the abyss.
Yeah. So this video is basically for anybody who either has questions about being trans, dating a trans guy, being in the transgender community, literally anything. Anyone who's even just remotely curious. So we gathered up a bunch of questions and we're going to answer them. And what?
The other thing I was just going to say is like if people see this video and there's more questions that we haven't answered, we'd love to make a part 2. We probably won't even get to like answer all the questions we want to today because we don't want to make this super long. But yeah.
So I think we should probably start off by defining what being transgender is, because I always assume everybody is like totally clued up because it's quite a big issue at the moment, but obviously not everybody is. So being transgender is basically when at birth you're assigned a different sex, and as you grow up you realise you're not that sex at all. So it's basically the easiest way for people to understand it is like being trapped in the wrong body. That's it. That's literally as simple as it is. Like
that's something that helped me kind of like understand as well, is having that analogy that Noah just said of like, and I know it's not at all similar to the actual experience of it, but like if I woke up one day and suddenly everyone was using the wrong pronouns, like I know I'm a girl and everyone was using the wrong pronouns, and I was like, okay, well I'm having a disconnect, like people aren't viewing me how I actually like, who I actually like.
Yeah. A lot of people think that the best way to think is like, oh, so imagine, so let's say I was talking to you, a really bad way to explain it would be like, oh, imagine if you woke up and one day you were in a boy's body. Like, no, the best way to actually understand what it feels like to be trans is imagine you woke up exactly as you are, but suddenly everybody is just calling you he, is calling you David, and is throwing every gender stereotype at you, and you're like, what? I'm clearly a girl, like obviously, but everybody's going, no, you're not. You're clearly a boy. And it's like,
and obviously that doesn't include like the actual your own disconnect to your body, but that's just like,
yeah, dysphoria is a whole other issue.
So to just explain a little bit of backstory of like how we met and how we started dating and stuff like that. We've known each other for quite a while. We're friends, and then I actually didn't know that he was trans originally.
I don't think I was even out at the time, was I, when we first met?
You weren't, and it doesn't really matter exactly like how everything panned out, but he then came out, and by this point we were still like kind of like just, I don't even know if we could say friends, like we were friends,
kind
but
of,
like
yeah, we knew each other.
Yeah. So like I did know he was trans before we started dating. Then we went on our first date and like you made it very clear, obviously you were just like,
yeah, I think it's the whole question of like, should you tell the person you're dating that you're trans? And for me it's not much of an issue because at the moment I don't necessarily pass as a cisgender male because I've not grown a beard yet, which is on its way. So it's quite obvious that I'm trans, and I'm really open about it as well. So, because I was still a teenager when we met, so I was still at school? No, was No, it's come back.
No.
Never mind.
Yeah.
So I was still a teenager when we met. So like, I'd only come out like 2 years prior. So everybody knew that I was trans, and I have a trans tattoo. I have 2 trans tattoos. It's the whole thing of it was never a question for me of, do I tell her that I'm trans?
And again, like I already knew.
Yeah.
From social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd like interacted with that in the respect that like he had posted pictures and stuff and I had commented. So it wasn't like he didn't know I knew or anything like that, where like you might have that more of an issue of like, should I tell them or
I think
not?
it's something that like trans people want to get out of the way soon. Or for me, it's always something that I need to know straight
okay.
away. Yeah, if you have a problem with it or not. Because if you do,
well, you're not gonna date.
I'm out. That's it. It's like,
I mean, both people will probably be out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I kind of think it's unfair on both parties in that respect. Like, if someone isn't okay, not that I'm saying it's okay for them not to be okay with it, but like, if they don't think they can handle it or whatever, I don't know. If they fell for you or whatever, and then it was really a big issue for them, that's as hard on them as it would be for you. But anyway, what was I going to say?
Well, I'm not doing anything. Okay, do you want to go for like start questions?
Wait, I guess like there's like the question of like, I think
What?
parents, friends. So when we did start dating, I knew that like my friends, well, I guess I didn't know. I was pretty certain that my friends wouldn't have an issue with it, or wouldn't be like rude or anything like that. I did have like some scenarios where people would make jokes, and I did respond back to those. And then in terms of family members, like my mum and dad weren't, like, again, they didn't really, care's not the right word, but like it didn't make a difference to them. It was hard to explain to my grandma, who was, I think is a little bit still confused, and if she sees this video, maybe it'll clarify.
Maybe it will clear some things up for her. But she likes me, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And she always, in fairness, she's quite confused, but she always genders me correctly and is always really lovely.
Yeah.
So we've never had a problem with your friends and family, have we?
No.
And I think people are a lot more open than people ever think. I think it's one thing when your child is transgender that it's maybe people have a more extreme reaction. But in terms of when you're dating somebody trans, I think people are more open than first you'd imagine.
I mean, also, like, I did tell my parents quite soon on, because again, it was a similar thing of if they're going to have a big issue with this. Not that it would have changed whether I would have dated him or not, but like, I kind of needed to know to prepare myself for that, and I don't know, to think about it or whatever. But like, I do have queer members in my family, so I don't know, I wasn't too worried. I'm obviously bisexual, and I've come out as bisexual a few years ago to my parents, and again, that wasn't like an issue. But yeah, so I know that we kind of had it easy in that respect.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and they do just like adore him now, so.
Parents like me.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's probably covering our backstory.
Yeah. Let's hear some questions.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so first question I think that I get a lot is straight away about surgery. So, and a lot of people phrase it in a negative way of like, I'll say, oh yeah, so I'm transgender, it'll come up in conversation. I tend not to mention it until I have to, with people that I'm not dating. And almost immediately people go, oh, like, have you had the surgery? I'm like,
What's the surgery?
The golden question, what's the surgery? I think there's a total of 5 surgeries for transgender guys, like, all together. I can only think of 3, but I know there's more. Yeah. There is no one, like, gender swap surgery, like sex change, that literally...
That's such a dated way of looking at it.
It doesn't exist. Like, it just doesn't. If it did, like, how fucking easy would that make my life?
Yeah, of course it was, like, bam.
Yeah,
and,
great.
And the other thing as well of it being, like, entirely effective, because there's also that issue with, like, surgeries right now, is that it's not guaranteed that everything's going to be, like, great.
Hunky-dory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your answer when people ask you that?
So for me, I always, you know, I'm totally open for questions, so I always start by kind of educating the person of, like, so there isn't just one surgery, you know, there's chest surgery, which is otherwise known as a double mastectomy, which is basically, as much as it sounds, just removal of your chest. And then, you know, there's bottom surgery, which is construction of stuff going on down there. There's you know, there's so much when you look at, like, medically at it. And it 100% depends on the trans person.
Yeah, we also, like, these questions are very specific to you and us as a couple. Like, we can generalise in some respects, and people will probably be able to relate to a lot of it, but, like...
Yeah, every trans person is different. Like, I know that there's... For me, is... So I've just had my chest surgery. I'm still kind of on the mend. And I've been on... The other thing is testosterone, which is hormone therapy, which a lot of trans people go on before surgery, and that's kind of the main physical thing. Before you even think really about surgery, you tend to have hormones. So the one for transgender guys like me is testosterone, the one for transgender women is estrogen, which is obviously the feminizing hormone. And that is what gives you facial hair, muscle build, and that is what gives you facial hair, muscle build. Muscle build, yeah, that's muscle.
Try to get back into the same position.
Yeah. So testosterone, which trans men take, is basically it's what gives you facial hair. It's what help you help. Oh, fuck me.
Oh wait, it's not even been focused. Wait, okay.
So basically, testosterone, which is the masculinizing hormone, which trans men take. Sorry, this is like the 5th time I've tried to say the same sentence. All of this will be cut out and edited, but... So the trans male hormone, you know, is what gives you facial hair, it's what helps you build muscle, gives you body hair generally, it gives you fat redistribution, which is basically... Sounds gross, but basically means fat moves around your body so that you have a straight waist instead of a curved one, and a generally more masculine figure.
Also, it's made your face more masculine.
Yes, it masculinizes your face through, like, your jaws get kind of more defined, which is great.
I feel like his fat, like where we have our cheeks, just in general. Like, when I met him, I don't even know how to explain it. He just looked different to how he does now. Like, the fat here has almost gone, and his jaw is just more defined, and it's just like it's odd sometimes.
It doesn't change your bone structure.
No.
People are like really say it doesn't.
Still look like you.
Yeah, but it looks. It's really hard. But if you look at before and after photos, it's really obvious. Going on testosterone also does things like it stops you ovulating. It essentially sends you through puberty as well. So for about 2-3 years, you know. You get acne, your hair gets greasy, your skin gets greasy.
Voice drops.
Your voice drops, that's a huge one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of it. It's very easy to pass as a cisgender guy when you're on testosterone, even if you haven't had any surgeries. So some trans guys don't have any surgeries, if that's because they don't have the money or they can't get it on NHS.
Physically can't do it.
They just don't want to. They just don't want to, like, they just don't have dysphoria in that area. For me, having chest surgery was a massive thing. Like, I needed to have a masculine torso. So for me, it was a huge thing. I was counting down the days for years, whereas some people don't do that at all.
And that's another thing that I want to go into a little bit of, like, Noah's, like, chest now and, like, how it was before. So I didn't... Again, this is my first, like, knowingly trans, like, relationship with a trans person. Like, I have, but, like, not knowingly before dated someone. But, yeah, so I was going into this completely
blind.
Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. But, so that meant when we first started being intimate with each other, there needed to be a lot of like communication and clarity as to what can go on and what he's comfortable with, and I didn't know that like binding. I didn't know what binding was.
Yeah, so binding, for those of you that don't know, is essentially a binder is a very tight, like, it's almost like lycra or like nylon, I can't remember exactly what it's made out of, kind of top that you pull over, like a vest. Sometimes it's a half tank, sometimes it's a full, and it literally flattens your chest, and it is incredible. Well, it's not incredibly painful to wear. It's incredibly painful to wear for a long amount of time. So you're not meant to, it restricts, I think, 20% of your breathing. You're not supposed to wear it for more than 8 hours. But it gives you the appearance of a male chest. So yeah, binding is not fun. But it meant that I could feel like I had a male chest, but it did also mean that we've been dating for nearly just over a year, and you have never seen me without a binder. And I think that's really hard for people to get their head around.
At first that was hard for me because, and I can't even explain to you why that was hard for me. I think it was partly just a thing of he'll always be covered in a respect, and we're out of focus. But we're back, I think. But yeah, I think it was just a thing of like I didn't know that was the case, and it's just I don't even know how to explain it, but it is a thing that you need to get your head around. And then once we had been dating longer, I couldn't even fathom the idea of seeing you without your binder on, because I knew that would make me feel weirder than seeing you with your binder on.
Yeah.
Because it did just become a thing that was just like so normal and so natural, and like.
I mean, for some trans guys, they might be completely happy taking off their binder in front of somebody. For me, it just wasn't an option because it wasn't my body. It wasn't my body. Which is why eventually I paid $6,000 to get rid of it. So.
The other thing that's kind of like, so the story of you going on testosterone is kind of funny, because when we went on our first date, or I don't know if it was our first date or the first couple of days of us dating, right? He was saying to me, like, testosterone is a thing I want to do, like I want to go on. I'm not sure if we discussed surgery, but we definitely discussed testosterone. And he was like, oh yeah, it's definitely not going to happen for like a good, at least like 6 months kind of period of time.
I was, at the time, I was on the waiting list for the NHS, which is massively backlogged, and it's a waiting time of about 2 years. Yeah,
so I was like, okay, well, I have time to get my head around this and stuff like that. And so we went away from that date, both believing that was the truth. Then you went to an appointment a week, 2 weeks? How long was it? What was it after?
It was about a month after.
No, because I remember, it must have been. But I remember the message you sent me.
Yeah.
Like I got my appointment at gender clinic and stuff. But yeah, and then they offered you it in a year's from then.
Well, they offered me. The issue with the NHS is they're fantastic for everything they do, but their gender clinic, which is the treatment for transgender people, has gone from 2,000 to 7,000 patients in the space of a year. So they just can't keep up with the demand, which basically means that I had my first appointment, and then you have to have 2 appointments with them before you can have testosterone. You need to be cleared and diagnosed, which is a whole other debate, but that's what it is at the moment. And my next appointment with them was going to be just over a year's time, so I had to wait a year, have my second appointment, and then go on testosterone, which would have been about another 6 months. So
I was just going to try and find. So when he told me that, I made him like a little countdown thing, with the amount of like days on it.
That was very cute.
And it was over a year's worth of days. So again, we were like, okay, well, we have a date-ish, but it's quite a while away from like right now. And then, how was it? How did it actually end up happening?
So then I decided to look at going private, because I'm fortunate enough to have that option. The only gender clinic in the UK that was taking new patients was in Scotland, which is, and I still travel up to Scotland now every 6 months to have my injection, because I have injections every 3 months, and I have some down here and some up in Scotland. And we booked an appointment, and the doctor up there was like, yeah, just get me a reference from another psychiatrist and we're good to go. So then it became a thing of, you'll be on it within 10 weeks, and then eventually I think we started dating in March, and by June the 1st I was on testosterone. So it all happened very quickly. And then chest surgery, I didn't think was going to be able to happen for about a couple of years. I didn't think I'd have the money. I didn't think my parents would get their head around it. And then I worked my arse off to try and save some money, and again my parents were generous enough to help me out. And just before a year of dating, I got my chest surgery, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's kind of it for surgeries.
Yeah, and the other thing with you going on testosterone was the fact that we had to have kind of a hard and a little bit embarrassing conversation very early on in our relationship, which, yeah, don't even know how to, like...
Basically, one of the things of being on testosterone is that, as I said earlier, it stops you ovulating, which means whilst I'm on testosterone, would not be able to have children. So I can't take what I have and, use it for IVF. I can't do any of that. It just kills it. So, or it doesn't kill it, but you can't use it. Which meant that, and I'd realised as well that I didn't have the money in order to freeze my eggs, which meant that I could use them at a later date. I didn't have that money, I didn't have that option. So basically by agreeing to have testosterone, it meant that I was giving up my chance of having biological children. And that was obviously a conversation that we had to have.
Mm-hmm. So I don't even know, it must have been in the gap between March and June. So we'd only been dating maximum 3 months.
Yeah.
And I had to have a proper sit down and think about what I wanted in my future, and whether not being able to have, like, our biological children would be an issue for me and stuff like that, which, again, is different for a lot of different people. It was hard in the respect that just the fact that, like, I don't know how to explain it, because we can have kids in a lot of different other ways, so that respect is fine. Like, I'm not that worried about that, but I think it was just upsetting to me that it wouldn't be, like, physically look like you. And it was just emotional and, like, I don't know, but it was never going to be, like, an issue, and I don't know how to make that, like, clear, because it's hard, but it also wasn't, like, something that would have prevented me from dating you.
Yeah. And again, for some couples...
That's a deal breaker.
Yeah, for some couples, it's a really big deal, and that which is another reason why trans guys, some of them may not choose to have testosterone, is some people want their own children. They want to take the time to freeze their eggs, or they will come off testosterone for a while, meaning that fertility comes back, or a whole other kind of branch of reasons.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's your lowdown on surgery and testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit puberty, I realised that I was probably trans, and I made an active decision of just like, nope,
ignoring it.
Fuck that. Nope, I'll just be gay. That's fine. Or I think I identified as bi at the time, but I was like, yeah, I'm not being trans. No, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, 5, 6, 7 years later, it's like, okay, I can't. It's not a choice. And I know that it's not a choice because I tried really hard to make it a choice because it's so much easier. So for me, I knew that I was trans because I experienced quite intense dysphoria. And it's a whole other debate of whether or not you need dysphoria to be trans. That's a whole other ballpark that we won't get into now. But for me, I felt...
Because my battery's dying.
Yes. I felt a complete disconnect with my body and my head. And that for me was the difference between like, yeah, I'm attracted to girls, but there's also something completely different going on.
So that was kind of like it for now. We can make a part 2, partly because I think things keep coming up, like we're like in a relationship, and even like we could just do a relationships video, like we have a lot of the same difficulties as other people, but like new things come up all the time, and I like talking about this stuff because I know I needed it in the beginning, and I still do. Like, but yeah, so we don't want to make this like 5 hours long, so we'll leave it here. And if you have any new questions, please put them in the comments or DM us on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Monica_X_Murray. Yours is?
I don't know what my Instagram handle is, so it's going to be in the description box
it's
of the video.
It's at noahjbroadbent, but it will be also there. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and yeah, thanks for listening. Bye guys!